I've reviewed the Mazda3 about 36 times, but I have never driven one with 80,000 miles, and I'm not going to do that today. But I'm going to talk with someone who has driven it all 80,000 miles. We're going to hear about what issues he's encountered, the things he likes most, and the other things that he could probably live without. If you enjoy fun, detailed car content without fluff, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. Now, before we talk all of the issues, I want to hear about some of the good things. So, first, when did you buy it, and why did you buy it?
So, I bought this car August 13th of 2020, right before COVID prices got insane.
Perfect.
So I got it for a really good deal. I did buy it with 3,000 miles already on it.
Oh, this video is not valid. Throw it out.
And I do have 81,000 now.
Oh.
But, so I've done, what is that, 78,000, whatever. So I bought it in August because I needed a car. I was driving a Miata at the time, a 93 Miata. The soft top leaked. It was terrible on the highway and all these things. And I knew I wanted a newer Mazda. I've owned several Mazdas in the past. I got it for 21,000. All I wanted was all-wheel drive. That was like the biggest selling point for me. I love the 2.5 liter. I love the interior of this car. As soon as I drove one, funny story, I was actually reviewing one, still owning the Mazda Miata at the time.
Hold up. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. I think I should probably introduce you properly because I've been talking with you the whole day and I forgot. This is Mr. Zack Pradel. He runs Shooting Cars. You should subscribe to him if you have not already. This man is a beast, putting out like 5 videos a week, so he's got something for everyone, whether it be new cars or old shit that you may have never heard of. Back to, I guess, why you were buying it. So you really wanted the all-wheel drive.
Yeah, so I owned a Miata at the time, and I was actually reviewing my friend's 2020 Mazda3, and mid-review, I called my friend and said, hey, pick up my Miata on Friday, $3,000, you can take it home.
$3,000, yeah, man. You should've reached out to me.
To be fair, I should have held on to it and sold it for more in like 2 months. But I took that money, went right to the Mazda dealer, said I want that one, and I drove it home that day. Since then, I've put like 78,000 miles on it. I've driven it to all 48 continuous states, and I really have enjoyed the car.
You stuck with the Mazda brand. I love what they've been doing lately. Some of their decisions, like this car, when it initially came out, honestly, it was more expensive than the previous generation. And like a lot of the dealerships that, or at least that I was talking to, are kind of bothered by that because sometimes they would have like $17,000 ones because they were listing them at invoice and stuff, so they could be even cheaper than that. They can't do that anymore, and I think that's when they're starting to price out people who just want a nice, quality, fun to drive little hatchback and not pay. You know, right now I think it's $25,000. Maybe you can get one for 24. Maybe you can sneak that in. But it's the same price as a CX-30. It gets so hard to justify, but it's good to hear that you like the car, one.
Yeah, I love it. I really, really do. And if it goes my way, unless I crash it or it completely explodes, I will be buried in this automobile.
Hey, that's definitely a good testament to it. That was one of the questions, was how satisfied you are with it. It seems like very much so. But if you had to pick 3 things that you would call, or that would make it the
that you do,
I guess, the leading factors to your satisfaction.
Definitely, I love the drivetrain.
Okay.
The 186 horsepower, which now in 2023 it's 191. I love it. I don't really need any more power. There is the turbo, and we can talk about that later on. Yeah. But, you know, putting my foot into it, it's fine.
Yeah.
I've driven it on the tail of the Dragon. I've driven it on several racetracks, actually, and done, you know, mini track days, not full events, but I've enjoyed it. So that was a big selling point. The all-wheel drive kicks ass.
Really?
It is so good.
Chicago, really? It stacks up to...
So, in the winter, I put BlizzX tires on it.
Okay.
I tried desperately to try to get it to slide. It will not. On summer tires, I can get it to slide in the snow, and it acts like a rear-wheel drive car. If you can bait the front wheels to start sliding, the car kind of freaks out for a second and goes, all right, I'll send everything to the back. I don't think
Nice.
it sends 100% to the back, but it sends a good amount, but it's still a front-wheel drive biased hatch. I like all the features in here. I love the radar cruise. The adaptive cruise is fantastic. Apple CarPlay was a necessity for me. I would have wished that it was wireless, but now Mazda is barely dipping their toe into wireless CarPlay. Third gen Mazda 3s were touchscreen. Took that away for this generation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a big complaint that people
Gotcha.
had too, was that the center infotainment is no longer touchscreen, and they did this dial.
How do you feel about the dial? Living with the dial.
I love the dial.
Okay. I thought, it's
has
good to
great-
hear someone who likes it too, because I get so much like flack in the comment section when I'm like, hey, you don't have to, you try to pinpoint your finger while you're going around corners, while you're on the highway.
I will say the Miata dial I don't like as much, but I like how large and wide this is. You can move it left and right to select things as well. And something that the CX-5 doesn't get, but the CX-50 does, is the skip track on the volume knob. I prefer that way more over using the steering wheel. The third thing I would say is definitely the looks. I really enjoy how aggressive the fourth gen is. It might be a little overly aggressive for a $21,000 economy hatch,
Yeah, but
I find myself staring at it quite a bit.
at first I wasn't a big fan of the hatch, but as the years went by, I really began to appreciate how like understyled the side and rear was, especially after seeing like the Corolla hatch, which is fun, and I obviously have some bias towards the Corolla hatch too. But it is like it's a lot, and this is just very like elegant.
Yeah.
Nice. I think it'll age well.
The Kodo design language from Mazda right now, that's sort of flowy yet aggressive, I really, really enjoy.
The Mazda 3 is also kind of getting to the tail end of the generation. If you could change things for that new model, what would you do?
Honestly, at this point, I would just hope that Mazda would focus on some quality control things. The brakes suck. The interior plastics scratch incredibly easy, and the paint is peppered on my hood. If you look at the outside of this car, I actually have a leather bra on it to try to stop the rock chips on road trips, but it's just, the paint is so soft. You look at it weird, it chips. You drive it through a car wash, it chips. And it's also certain colors. The deep crystal mica seems to hold up better. This is machine gray, not good. And deep soul red metallic, or I think it's just soul red metallic now, is the worst color in terms of thickness, because it takes 6 layers of paint to create that color. And so Mazda, to save money, made the layers incredibly thin. Although they did train the robot to move in the same way that their master painter's arm moved, which is kind of cool. They actually motion captured him painting a car, and now all the robots go in that same way.
They spent the money there, but
but not in the layers of paint.
Coating.
Yeah.
It'll look great initially.
Another thing I would change is probably the rear visibility. That's been a big downside, and just rear seat space. But then again, the CX-30 suffers from the same issue. Honestly, at sometimes the CX-50 and CX-5 suffer from the same issue. So it's really just a chassis size thing. I wish they could package it a little bit better, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of grasping at straws to improve this car.
Oh, okay. This one is more of an enthusiast question, but there is the option of a manual, but you sacrifice the all-wheel drive. Was that ever on your mind where you're like, maybe I should just get the manual?
It wasn't really on my mind because I was dead set on the all-wheel drive. However, as of the making of this video, I don't know if it's out yet on my channel, I drove a manual hatch the other day, and I had a slight little bit of regret because the manual was so good.
It is nice and light and communicative.
It feels amazing, but I like the practicality of the all-wheel drive. Obviously, I drive a fair amount, doing 81,000 miles in 2.5 years. I love the manual, but the automatic all-wheel drive was the way to go.
This will enter us into the reliability. Money no matter, turbo or naturally aspirated?
Naturally aspirated.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I've talked to my local Mazda mechanics who do everything to this car. I'm actually really good friends with them. One of them is my best friend's brother-in-law. They had a valve issue for a while. They had a couple cars come in that actually dropped valves. They have oiling issues, and so that was a big deterrent too. Of course, obviously the price. The one that I drove, the Turbo Premium, was $38,000 for this.
That is actually a ton.
Top trim, red seats, the polymetal gray exterior, which is beautiful.
Did it have like the whatever sport exterior package on?
Yeah, it had the lips, had the spoilers, had the 360 camera, had the Bose system. It was a nice car.
Yeah,
but $38,000 as opposed to $21,000.
Yeah.
I know which way I'm going to steer.
When it comes to the reliability, the turbocharged engine from, I believe they had a service bulletin. I'm not sure if it got a proper recall, but it was the valve stem seal, which in the valve train, it causes the oil consumption.
Yes.
That was supposedly, allegedly, 2021 models.
And to confirm this, let's look at the CX-9, the only Mazda model that offered the 2.5 turbo exclusively. 2021 showed many engine problems with Consumer Reports and elsewhere, but outside of that model year for the CX-9 and all others, the powertrains and the 6-speed automatic have a squeaky clean record. Still, if your primary concern is trustworthiness, having one less hot and spinny thing in the engine bay isn't a bad idea.
I'd love to talk with someone who has the Turbo too and get their thoughts on it.
One of the issues with these engines, because they are direct injection, is carbon buildup.
Oh, yeah.
So I do the fuel system service every 25,000 miles.
Okay, what does that look like? Because I'm sure a lot of viewers are...
So I'm not exactly sure what the liquid is, but it's basically this giant cylinder, and they take the intake off and just feed this liquid through the engine, helps clean out carbon buildup. It's a kind of expensive service. I think it's like $135. But all the mechanics I've talked to, not only the staff over at my Mazda dealer, but also the Kia dealer, I'm close with the mechanics over there, and they have the same issue. They say the clean out is almost a necessity, but people don't want to buy it because it sounds like one of those snake oil procedures of like, oh, we got to clean out your cylinders. That sounds like something, you know.
They're trying to change your blinker fluid.
Yeah, exactly. So I do that every 25,000, and that seems to work really, really well. The car drives just like it did the day I picked it up.
So some other issues people did report. Paint chipping was one thing. AC problems was another thing that people were reporting. Have you had any of that?
I haven't had any AC problems. It works fine, and it'll cool you down, but it's not super cold, and it's been like that since day one.
The next thing that people were definitely reporting, it may be a more recent issue, but was side airbag lights. Have you gotten any airbag lights?
No. So the airbag light issue is actually due to the seats. So there's a little wire that runs up the seat because there are airbags in the seats. And from the factory, sometimes they get unsecured, and the car will sense a strange voltage. So you'll get airbag lights. The service manual fix for the airbag light is to take the back of the seat off and electrical tape the wire to the side to keep it out of the way, because basically when you're sitting down, you're crushing that wire and it's creating an inconsistency.
This is one thing that has driven me insane with the GR Corolla, was because almost initially I was getting interior rattles like crazy. And so you've talked a little bit about that. We're definitely testing the panel fitment right now.
Yeah.
But the interior rattles were also reported here. I have never driven a Mazda3 and been like, oh, this has got terrible noises. But what you've driven it much longer than me. Have you heard any that are really piercing?
Not anything that will pierce through music. If you have music on, it'll be fine. The center screen does rattle to the point where, like on the highway, to where I will actually put some pressure on it and the rattle will go away for a day, 2 days, 3 days. It must just lean forward slightly.
Yeah. Oh, I see. The whole thing kind of moves.
Which I did have to have that replaced.
You had to have the whole screen replaced.
Yeah, because it was actually delaminating itself. So the corner started peeling off, and I was like, oh, it has a screen protector on it. But I didn't peel it, luckily. I took it to the dealer and I was like, hey, can I get a new screen protector? And they were like,
what?
Looking back at pictures, it was doing it when I bought it. I was just over the moon. And I have a screen protector on it now. So I did go.
Okay, I was going to notice that. I was like, dog, it's kind of,
yeah,
you gotta let him feel it.
But in terms of rattles, there is a known glove box rattle. Again, service manual fix for it is to wrap it in electrical tape. There's a little bracket that sticks out, and it's just the back of the glove box hitting that bracket, because it's plastic just hitting metal, and you just wrap the bracket in electrical tape so it's quiet. Honestly, I've driven Teslas with more rattles with lower mileage.
Has your rear view mirror ever fallen off?
No.
It's a common issue. It's a common issue is the rear view mirror's falling off.
So I'm wondering, because this is a base model, this does not have the garage door openers.
Oh.
That might be the problem, but I have not had an issue. Plus, I'm the only person that drives this, so I rarely ever adjust it.
Another thing Zack pointed out that other owners run into is cheap stock brakes that can warp after some hard braking and don't last long in general. Some miscellaneous infotainment bugs are reported too, but nothing serious. To answer to the dudes who already commented something profane about cylinder deactivation, this does have it with the naturally aspirated engine, but no recall or formal service bulletin has been made regarding it in North America. What I have found is that some 2019 owners have reported vibrations from it at highway speeds. It seems alleviated for 2020. I've only driven 20s and up and have not noticed anything, so I would personally consider that a non-issue. Do with that information what you want. Lastly, the autonomous braking system seems to be finicky with more false warnings than usual.
Now it's a freestyle of issues. Outside of the ones that we've already mentioned, what things have you encountered?
One of the biggest things was I bent a wheel on a pothole, which, to be fair, that is user error. But I've read a lot. They said they replace wheels at the dealership all the time. They bend really easily because the all-wheel drive and any hatch past the all-wheel drive base gets bigger wheels. The 18s, these are the 18s. The base model does come with 16s.
They got some chunk to them.
With some fatter sidewall, so I assume that will happen less. Another thing is I pinched the sidewall of a tire driving up a mountain and got a bubble in my tire, which is a common issue, again, for the low-profile tires with the 18-inch wheels. The other things I'm trying to think of that went wrong, the door handles, when you touch them, they unlock. When it's really cold, sometimes they don't work. They do work with gloves, though. And I actually took the car in for service, and they're like, yeah, we can't find anything wrong with it. That's kind of it.
Okay, so that's pretty limited.
Oh, one more thing. Battery died at 2 years. Kind of sucks.
Subaru does the same thing. The cheapest shit they can find, they put it in.
Other than that, this car has been so reliable. It has started every morning. It turns off properly every night. I've slept in here. I've driven, I think the most I've done was 900 miles in a single day, which was a headache and a half. But I trust this thing. I've obviously taken it to all 48 states. Hopefully my goal with this car is to maybe add a little bit of a lift kit and take it to the Arctic Circle. That's my goal, my end goal for this car. So yeah, I love this car. It does everything I need it to do. Rain, shine, sleet, snow, whatever it is. It's been there, and it's, been awesome.
One, thank you so much for coming out here, driving all the way to Bloomington, Indiana, and I hope that you guys learned something. I definitely learned a little bit here, and I also want to thank you for watching. If you enjoy videos, this isn't my... If you enjoy videos.
if you enjoy breathing.
But... Shit, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. If you want to see more stuff like this, let me know. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. Okay. There we go.
Cool.
There we go.
How long was that? That was like over 20 minutes.
38! But
now let me tell you all the real issues.
Yeah.